Hey guys, welcome back to Starcastic Remarks. And alongside Chris today, my name is Ryan Chambers. We are the official Dallas Stars podcast of THPN. Thank you for joining us here today as we discuss the Dallas Stars and the recent two games that we have had and that we've seen. I've got a lot to talk about with this, Chris. But before we get into that, if you're here for the first time, welcome. We'd appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Starcastic Remarks. And if you've been here for forever and you've been a subscriber for forever, we appreciate you even more so. Thank you so much for doing so. If you're listening on the audio side, leave us a 5-star review. And thank you to DraftKings Sportsbook, as always, for being our sponsor. Chris, how are we doing today before we get to hockey stuff? You got anything specific going on?
Ags are 7-0. We're going all the way, baby. My hopes are up officially.
This is the calm before the storm, Chris. Like you have to understand that this always happens with the Texas A&M Aggies. They start in the top 25, somewhere between like 18 to 25, and then they work their way up, and then they slide down in like 2 or 3 weeks, and they're not ranked after that. So, Not trying to dash your hopes or anything like
hopes
that.
Hopes are all the way up. Don't care. I'm a believer.
But in all reality, what do you think their chances are for getting in the college football playoff this year?
I don't know. Because you're objectively correct, but I don't want you to believe you. So.
But I'll be honest, they do look different this year than past years. I can't tell you what it is because I don't know Aggie football like I know Dallas Stars hockey. But does it look different to you, or is it just luck of the draw?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Speaking of Dallas Stars hockey, that looks worse.
Yes. So speaking of Dallas Stars hockey, I have never been. No, that's a lie. I can't say that because that's not true. But I have definitely been more frustrated than I am now. But I am extremely frustrated in the play of the Dallas Stars right now. And I don't know why I'm frustrated, because I was talking to myself before this. I should have listened to myself, and I should have expected this. The play of the Dallas Stars was going to be a little bit erratic to start the season with, some players now gone, with a new coaching staff, with new systems in place and all of that. And we've seen everything. And there was a little bit of a talk going on in the Discord on Starcastic Marks. And someone was saying that the hockey guy was a little bit harsh on the Dallas Stars and where he had them ranked in his power rankings. And I think he had them 8th, if I remember correctly. And both James and I were like, I don't mind that, honestly, because and I'll just start off with this right off the bat, Chris, before we start talk about the two games that we've seen recently. But I am extremely frustrated with every single game the Dallas Stars have played this season. I have not been happy with one single game, not any of them. Tell me why I'm wrong or why I'm right.
Well, I mean, there's always stuff bad in every single game. So if you're saying you found something that you didn't like in every single game, that makes sense. And it's at the start of the season. I'm sure pretty much every team in the league could tell you at least one thing they didn't like in every single game they played. So if that's what you mean, then that's pretty normal. But if you mean there's been no good things the Stars have done, that's incorrect. They've done lots of good. Their scoring has been really good, except for the Blues game, which made that one especially frustrating because it felt like, man, the one thing we were doing good to start the season, and it kind of fell off a cliff there. But Stars have done a lot of good in those first few games. The bad things that they did in those first two games came to bite them in the butt in the last two. So that's kind of where you're at. And yeah, we'll have to see how they can improve it. And I know Gulutzan said, you mentioned earlier, like the systems being new and stuff like that. Gulutzan keeps kind of stressing every time, like, it's not the systems. Like, they're playing the systems correctly. It's just individual plays within the systems. So I think in the Blues game afterwards, he talked a lot about just poor breakout passes, which, man, the Blues forecheck had the Stars in their own zone the entire time. And then the Canucks game, I think he mentioned a lot, just individual puck battles. You got to win those. And, of course, those things are correct. But I think what can kind of lead to those individual mistakes is having to think more about the system when you're playing and not just going out and letting your body take over, having your mind involved a little bit too much when you're this high of a skill player. I mean, These guys have played hockey their entire lives. They're the best in the world at it. Their bodies know what to do. When they get their mind involved, that can kind of trip up the body in some instances. So I think that's more so what we're seeing. I'm still convinced this is just new systems, ironing things out. It's going to take these guys a minute to get fully comfortable with them. And I think that shows on the other end of the ice. When you look at the offense has been, for the most part, take out the Blues game, obviously, the offense has been fantastic. It's been really good in these first few games. So I'm really not too worried about it. I think the defense will come.
I know it's cliche to say this, but we talked about it for the last 3 years that they consistently cannot play a full 60-minute game. And I'm not saying I expect them to, be this wizardry prowess of an offense all the time and are consistently, forechecking and making the other team, play in their own zone and all of that junk, because that's just not realistic. But what is frustrating is how the Stars have gone about their business, Chris. And what I'm talking about is specifically when they have leads or when they're down, which is a majority of the time, obviously, because tied, you're not really worried. It's that doesn't happen as much. But I have hated the way they have played with the lead. And then when they have been down, there are some exceptions. I have not liked the way that they've tried to come back in games. And the first three, it's like a tale of two cities with the first 3 games and the last 2 games, the first 3 wins and the last 2 losses. In the first 3 games, I absolutely hated how they played with the lead, and they just weren't taking care of business and fighting the momentum off. In the last 2 games, I have absolutely hated the way that they have tried to come back, and it just didn't seem like they had anything left in the tank or anything gas wise to get the throttle going. So that's where my frustration lies. There's not a consistent thing that you can point at and be like, oh, well, this is the singular problem. There's not one of those. Like in each game, there has been something. And like in the first 3 games, we talked about how great the power play and the penalty kill was. Now in the last 2, it hasn't really done them any favors, especially the penalty kill. I think there was a stat that started at the beginning of the St. Louis game that the Stars had given up 5 goals in their last 8 penalty kill opportunities or something like that. I think it's a little bit different now, obviously, but it just hasn't been consistent enough. So I need to take a page out of my own book and listen to myself and say it's going to be okay. But as a fan, I feel like that I am still allowed to be frustrated with the way that the Stars have played the first 5 games of the season.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with the second part of that, disagreeing or how you don't like how they're trying to come from behind. Each time, both games that they lost, they scored goals late in the game and pulled within 1. Like they were close both times. Even the St. Louis game, when their offense was terrible, that was the worst offensive game of the short season so far. And it just looked awful. They couldn't make a pass. Even then, Mikko comes in, does it essentially himself. It's a give and go, but that was a Mikko play. And he pulls him in within 1 on his own. So you're still in both of those games. It's not like they got blown out and they just rolled over and died, So I've been fine with their comeback effort. The Blues game, they just didn't have it. They just didn't have their game clearly. And yeah, the Canucks one, that was just a second period collapse. And of course the PK did not help them in that game.
And what I'm specifically talking about, Chris, is with in the St. Louis game, the scoreboard didn't say how I felt. It didn't feel like a 2-0, 3-1 game. With the way that the St. Louis Blues were playing, it felt like the Stars were losing every single puck battle. They were playing 75 to 80% of the time in their own zone. And it felt like they were getting dominated. And the only reason why that the Stars were able to make it look close is because we have a Mikko Rantanen, and the Blues don't really have the same skill level that the Stars have. And that's where I'm getting at more so is, yes, the Vancouver game was not good in the second period, but the Blues game specifically was just, it didn't seem like they had any gas left. And in my opinion, they got dominated for a majority of the play. The scoreboard is not indicative of how I felt. 3-1 is not how I felt at the end of this game. This felt to me like a full-on blowout.
Yeah, I
So
disagree. I thought the second period obviously was bad in that game. I mean, they got outshot 12-5. Tons of chances for the Blues in that section, and that's where they scored their 2 goals. But I thought the first was pretty even. I didn't think it was a good period for either team in the first. And I did like the Stars pushback in the third. So I don't mind how they're trying to come back. It's just both those games, the Blues games, they just didn't look like themselves. I don't know what it was with the offense. It just wasn't there.
I want to talk to you about let's start with the Vancouver game first. Did you have any takeaways from that game that you wanted to specifically point out?
Uh, I don't think so. I mean, it was just the second period collapse. That's what that game was. They fell apart in the second period there, and they didn't really recover.
Yeah, and Dallas had the lead 2-0.
Yeah, it was a
And
great first period. They looked good.
that's another thing that they've done seem to do is they've seemed to blow multi-goal leads several times in the first 5 games of the season, which reminded me a lot of how the Toronto Maple Leafs did things like 3 or 4 years ago. They would get up 3-0 or 4-1 and end up losing the game. But it started with Hedel, and then it was Besser, and the Besser was a power play goal. And then the one that was just a real dagger was the one that put Vancouver up 3-2 was the Sasson goal. That was just terrible defensive coverage. And maybe DeSmith might have wanted a save from him, but it was still a good shot. And the Dallas defensemen were a step behind.
Yeah, I don't think you can really give. I mean, maybe Otter gets one of those 4 if he was in, but I thought it was none of those were really on Casey. The real dagger to me was the Connor Garland one. I mean, he goes in all on his own it was like a half breakaway from like I think just beyond the blue line and just dangles DeSmith out of his skates. That was the real dagger. I mean, at the end of the period there too. So yeah, that was rough to be down 2 when you were up 2 to start that frame.
Do you know who the person was with a god awful turnover there?
It was Harley, wasn't it?
Nope, it was Colin Blackwell. Colin Blackwell with a absolutely terrible turnover, and the thing about that is yes, the way that Garland scored it because it was just a terrible turnover, but it was also the timing of it. Like you can go into the second intermission, going into the third period, being down by a goal, and still feel like okay, yeah, you know what, we can probably still make our way back in this game despite us having a terrible second period, but the timing of that, you're thinking going off the ice after that terrible turnover, we're doubled up now, and we had a 2-goal lead going into the second period. So I was frustrated. Here's one thing I wanted to point out about several of these games, and I don't know if I'm crazy or not. It feels like when the Stars have gotten in more trouble, they have opened the game up. And what I mean by that is lots more odd man rushes and quick plays through the neutral zone and, shots off the rush and stuff like that. It seemed like early on in the St. Louis game, Chris, that they were trying to play that more, I don't want to say grungy style, but that's kind of the word that comes to mind.
They're trying to play
and
a coach
then,
game.
yeah. And then when that obviously didn't work for them, then they just gave up and it opened everything up and it just allowed St. Louis to get that second goal specifically. But that's something I noticed is that they tried to play that more, grungy style game, a Minnesota type game, a St. Louis type game, and then they just got beat. So am I crazy for noticing that? That just seemed like a thing to me.
Yeah, the St. Louis game, it was for sure more like that. It's hard for me to tell
It
if
didn't
that
end
was
that way, though, in my opinion.
right. It's hard for me to tell if that was like an ask by Gulutzan. If he's like, let's try and make this game more defensive, more control, especially after that Vancouver one where the second period was the wide open one. The Stars actually got beat in a wide open game. But if you think about it, that's kind of the Stars game too. Like they had the best rush offense in the league last year. Like that's the kind of game that the Stars are going to excel at. The key to winning those games is just not giving up too many odd man rushes the other way. And we've seen a lot of that this year. That was with the Canucks, with the Jets when they came back. Tons of odd man rushes there too. So it's fine to play more open, but you got to, it takes a lot more of understanding the game, where you're at in the game. And even things like the penalty box, like when the end of a power play is coming up, we got burned on that, I think, twice already this season in 5 games. So it takes a lot more mental awareness of the position of the game and the game clock and everything when you're playing that way to know when to step back, because that's where a lot of our goals against are coming from. They're not really happening in the defensive zone. Like when it's set up in our own end, the defense is pretty solid for the most part. But those turnovers on the offensive blue line or in the neutral zone, that's really where the Stars are getting crushed.
I tend to agree with you, because it seems like the neutral ice is kind of the difference maker right now. Because I think in the offensive zone, I agree with you, Chris. I think they've done exceptional. They've done very well on the power play and even 5-on-5. But it's just that defensive side of the game that's kind of screwing them up. And the thing is, it's not the defensemen and it's not the goaltending. It's the general team structure of the defense on the defensive side of the game.
I wouldn't say it's not the defenseman, though. It's a lot.
It's not just the defenseman.
It's not just the defenseman. But yeah, a lot of the times those aggressive plays in the neutral zone are coming from defensemen. If you look at the Canucks game, two of those 4 goals in the second period was from Harley making an aggressive play in the neutral zone and it not working out. And then it's an odd man rush or a breakaway the other direction. So a lot of the times it does kind of come down to what those defensemen are going to do.
And the thing that frustrated me even more was I made a note of this, but at the beginning of the second period in the Vancouver game, they highlighted this in the broadcast. They said Dallas has scored first in each of the first 4 games, and I was just like, okay, great, that's awesome. And then they said they've only trailed for 5 minutes and 15 seconds in the young season. And then I think we've like quintupled that in the last 2 games since then. So that was the sad thing.
Jinxed by the broadcast.
Yes, exactly. And the other thing was the shots seem to be kind of bipolar in terms of the amount of shots that the Stars have either given up or taken in the last couple of games. It seems like they're either up a lot, like, I forget which game it was exactly, but it was like they were down 7-1 in shots early on, or 8-1 in shots. And then in the Vancouver,
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota. Thank you. Okay. And then early on in the first period, I had 5-1 Dallas early on. And then early in the second, I had 15-6 Dallas. And then it just kind of went downhill from there. But still, that has been very bipolar for me in terms of just like looking at stats and things. I thought that was interesting to see. I do want to talk about a couple of players in particular, because up until the St. Louis game, we had 4 players who were on a 4-game point streak, which is good. I mean, that's a very good thing to hear. And a lot of that kind of went by the wayside in the St. Louis game. But the one that keeps going is Mikko Rantanen and Wyatt Johnston. They continue their 5-game point streak. They looked good together. And Wyatt Johnston, at least to me, seems to be one of the positive talking points, one of the positive outcomes in the young season, because it seems like already that he's taken another step that we were really hoping that he was going to take this season in the point per game or higher, category.
Yeah, it's looking like he's taking his performance in the playoffs last year a little bit personally, which is good. I mean, if he plays like that for the Stars, we're going to struggle winning games. I mean, he's a guy that consistently leads our forwards in ice time while technically being the 3rd-line center. So he's very important across all facets of the Stars game, offense, defense, both sides of special teams. So this is a great start for him. And yeah, if he keeps playing that way and Mikko keeps consistently putting up points, long run, the Stars are going to be looking in good shape.
I don't even think I ever got your opinion on the Duchesne hit. When Duchesne got hit about a week ago now.
Yeah,
did you think it was high?
I think I gave my opinion on that.
I can't.
Yeah, I absolutely did. But no, I mean, yes, it was high. But according to NHL rules, whoever made the hit, Middleton. Is that who made the hit? He did it by the rule book. So his skates were on the ice the whole time. He had his arm tucked, and Duchesne was leaning forward, and that's what caused his head to get hit. There's nothing Middleton did. I mean, he made the check, and Duchesne was leaning forward. So his head absolutely got hit. But according to the NHL rulebook, that's not the only thing that needs to happen. It has to be sole contact to the head for it to be a hit to the head penalty. And the head was not the, I don't know how to say it, the emphasis of contact on that hit. Middleton went through Duchesne's body as well.
The reason why I ask is because a couple of people were asking me, do you think Duchesne being out in the Vancouver game was a big issue? Like, do you think if he was actually in that game that the game would have gone the same way? And for me, it's nothing against Matt Duchesne, but like having him in the lineup, I don't know if that really changes the outcome of the game.
Yeah, I don't know. And I think it's a great decision to hold him out anyway. I mean, he did morning skate that day and looked to be fine. But I mean, it's an older player. It's a long season. We've talked multiple times this offseason that we'd love to win the division, but it's been proven over the past 5 years that it doesn't really matter if you do. So if one of the older guys is just feeling something, they got a deep bruise or they're a little bit under the weather, just hold them out. Like, don't mind it.
And now we're also, I guess, since we're kind of on the whole injury train now, we can talk about this a little bit. I was going to go more towards line combos and look at that more, but Nils Lundqvist looks like he's out again.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Glen Gulutzan was, not too down on it. In the game against Vancouver, he kind of said in the post-game conference, he was like, it's not a big deal. And he seemed less excited about the prospect of him coming back after the game against St. Louis. And maybe that was just just because the game was so bad and maybe they were just reading too much into it. But for me, Nils Lundqvist being out is a big deal. Mostly for him. And it definitely does take a huge hit. The Stars' D depth definitely does with him out of the lineup.
Yeah, it's if he's out for the year again, if he re-aggravated the same thing that put him out long term, I think they said this one was a lower body, and last time it was his shoulder, so it shouldn't be. But if it's something that puts him out for most of the season again, you're gonna have to look for a D replacement. I mean, you're gonna have two big holes in your lineup already, and I mean, it wasn't a sure thing that Lundqvist was the top 4 guy. He looked good in the start of this season so far, but that's still that's the hope, is that he can fill that spot. And now that he's out, you're kind of, maybe Bischel moves up and someone else plays on their offside now. But either way, you've got 2 holes now, and that's left wing high up in the lineup and now a top 4 defenseman that you're missing as well. So it is rough.
And even then, Nils Lundqvist looked good offensively, but I would still say that he was struggling defensively. There were several instances where I thought he got beat defensively pretty badly.
Lots of people have this year. That's another thing to mention, is that I think Harley and Miro have been having just rough starts to the season. And you can see that even in some advanced analytics stat cards, their 5-on-5 defense is way lower than we're used to seeing it.
It feels like all of the defensemen are having a hard time. Like any of the top 7, any of them. The only one that I would say is not so much is just Petrovic, because he's only been in the last 2 games, and I haven't really personally looked at him specifically to say, oh, he's had a rough time. But I mean, Miro had a really bad turnover that led to a goal recently. I mean, Essa has made some choices up the boards or something like that. Bischel has been beaten a couple of times. He got hounded by Connor Garland in the Vancouver game a couple of times and lost the puck to Connor Garland, who is a much smaller player than him. I think Connor Garland's 5'8", 5'9", something like that. And I know that, height is not everything and all that, but still that's something that he should have an advantage over of. And then Nils Lundqvist just defensively still struggling. And then we've even mentioned, Petrovic got in, I think, a little bit because Lyubushkin was having some issues. So it's all of the defensemen are just having some issues right now, just not as a group, but individually they seem to have struggled individually in certain plays, which have led to goals against.
And that's kind of what Gulutzan has been saying in his post games, that it's a lot of individual things that are causing the problems and not as much the systems him implementing failing. And we'll see if I'm right, and that it's just, hey, they need more time to be comfortable in the system to improve individually. That's kind of my pitch of what's going on and how it'll improve. So once they understand the system without having to think about it, the individual stuff should get better on its own over time.
Okay, we talked. I want to jump back around. We're jumping down rabbit holes like crazy, but that's okay. We jumped
almost like
down.
a podcast. Weird.
Yeah, that's just what we're supposed to do, I guess. I liked seeing Wyatt Johnston take that next step, but Mikko Rantanen has also been a consistent key figure in the Stars' first 5 games, whether that's in the losses or in the wins. I noticed Wyatt Johnston specifically in the third period against St. Louis. He seemed to be one of the few guys that was really trying to get things going. But Mikko Rantanen deserves a lot of credit as well too, and he stepped up. He's exactly as advertised, that he's the superstar. He's the one that's sometimes when you're just having a hard time getting through a team's defense, you just need somebody to do something and just take it individually. And that's literally what Mikko Rantanen did. And he had a little bit of an assist and some supporting cast from Wyatt Johnston with the give and go, like you said. But he's been excellent to start the season already.
Yeah, that St. Louis goal, that's exactly what a superstar is for. You've got nothing going on. The team is playing bad. And here comes Mikko Rantanen, and he just scores one and puts you in a game that you don't have business being in. I mean, that's really what it's for. That's what superstars do. They help you win games that you shouldn't win. And he's done that so far this season. He's been fantastic. He's been really good, especially at starts of games, too. You go back to that Vancouver game, that whatever line he was with, whoever was playing with Mikko Rantanen, I mean, they look dangerous every time he was on the ice. So he has been absolutely fantastic to start this season. He's got 8 points through 5 games. So yeah, here comes a 100-point season.
This is where I was leading with talking about both of these guys, and Natalie read my mind here. Natalie saying, I think Mikko and Wyatt need to be on the same line together. Right now, I especially think that is true. And especially if Matt Duchene is going to be out again, or whatever, I think that combo between both of those guys could really help. Because, I mean, you've got a duo of Rope and Robo. They seem to do well together. You got Sagan and Duchene, and then you've got Mikko and Wyatt. I think that could be another duo, and then you throw a third guy on whatever line to kind of complement the players. And I think that's what they're still trying to figure out on the offensive lines. But I agree with Natalie that I think the Mikko Wyatt being together, experiment needs to continue.
Yeah, the only problem I see with that is then you've got a lesser skilled player playing higher up in the lineup. And I don't know. The Sam Steele thing, he's looked decent at times with that top line where Rope and Mikko have kind of been the de facto first line, I guess. But I mean, obviously we've seen tons of switching of these lines, way more than last year. And it does seem more of the game plan is to change lines. It's not like, oh man, we look bad, scramble the lines to shake something up. That hasn't really been the case. Like the idea is to switch it up. But
except in the St. Louis game.
Right.
I don't know if you realize that they seem to stick more to those lines in the St. Louis game than they did in the previous 4.
Right. And late in the St. Louis game and late in the Vancouver game is where it more confused me because, I mean, we were midway through the third period in both those games and we're still seeing Sam Steele on the line with Rope and Mikko. And I feel like if you're going to be switching up who's on each line, like that's the time for Robo to be up there and to really just stack that top line with as much firepower as possible to try and get back in the game. And that didn't really happen. So I guess I don't fully understand what the goal is then with all the line adjustments happening. Is it just confusion? Is that it? It's just a deception tactic? Sure, I guess. I mean, they've scored a lot of goals to start the season, so it it's hard to super argue with it, but it feels like there's not a lot of chemistry between any of the combinations that they put together.
It feels like that. It's almost like Glen Gulutzan is reading the other team like a book, and he's realizing, hey, I know my players have these strengths. I know the team has these weaknesses. This player would match up better against this line for whatever reason. Like this guy's slower, and my guy is faster. So I'm going to put him on this line because I know he can get around him or whatever. I'm making things up. Okay, it almost feels like that is the way that he's going about things, at least in the first 4 games. But he was more, like I said, he was more inclined to keep his lines together for the game against St. Louis. I was a little bit surprised to see that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't see those advantages that you're talking about. Like I get you, or just for instance kind of thing, but whatever advantage he thinks he's gaining, I'm not really seeing it happen. Now, one thing I will mention that we talked about kind of to start the season is that we thought the balance of time on ice was going to be a lot more top heavy. We've definitely seen that so far to start the year. So, for example, in the St. Louis game, Bastian 654 time on ice total. Adam Ernie 944 time on ice. Blackwell 851. And tangent, I thought Ernie had a really good game there. I liked what he was doing in the St. Louis game. He was the only one that I liked. But then you have Mikko 2409. I think that would be the highest of any forward in any regular season game last year for the Stars. Wyatt had 2023, and yeah, Robo 1841. So it is definitely the case they are leaning heavier on those superstars, especially Mikko. 4 minutes more than Wyatt, almost 5 minutes more than Robertson or Rope. So yeah.
That's not really surprising, to be honest with you. Although, I think it was the St. Louis game. Look at Sam Steele's time on ice. Tell me what Sam Steele's time on ice
1848, which is just
that is nuts.
That's befuddling to me. I mean, I'm a pro Sam Steele guy. I think he is one of the best fourth line centers in the NHL, but that's what he is to me. I don't think he's an 1848 offensive guy. In that 1848, Sam Steele is a -1, 0 shots on goal. Like, you're playing with some of the most offensively talented players in the league. I just don't get. I'm not trying to be rude to Sam Steele because I said I like him. He just doesn't have that same offensive ability that the players he's playing with do.
So then, do we abandon the duos idea with friend duos and friend, and do we just dump that idea in favor of just true top 6, bottom 6, right? So top 6, Wyatt, Rope, and Robo, and then your second line is Duchesne, Sagan, and Bork, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, you look at what Edmonton did. They were fine shaking stuff up too. So I think that might just be a thing Glen Gulutzan is fine with doing, and it might help him have his influence on the game a little bit more. Whenever Edmonton does switch Draisaitl to be up with McDavid, it's just a big shock to the system, and I feel like the other team has to respond to it. And maybe Gulutzan's looking for that in Dallas. What switch can he flick that gives him more influence over the game? And maybe it's not as impactful regular season, but maybe it's a bigger deal in the postseason or something. I'm not entirely sure. So I guess I'm saying I don't exactly get what he's doing with the line shuffling and stuff, but I've got to assume he's got something bigger in mind. I wish we'd get a little bit more direct question on, like, what's the goal? Why does he change the lines in that way? What is he seeing?
Sorry, I'm working on it, Chris. I promise. Okay. You kind of mentioned Adam Ernie for a second. I think he deserves a little bit of a spotlight just for a couple minutes here. He has been very good, in my opinion, for what he is being asked to do. He came in after a couple of injuries. I mean, he even got in the lineup before Justin Ritzkovian, and I know that that's like a a veteran versus a younger guy kind of thing. So he kind of gets the benefit there, but he made it a point in especially the St. Louis game that he's there's a reason why to keep him in the lineup. And I mean, I know it's a little thing, but one of the few chances the Stars had in the first couple of periods in the St. Louis game was the Bastion and Ernie 2-on-1, and he set Bastion up for an opportunity. It wasn't Ernie that squandered the opportunity. It was Bastion tried to get as much on it as he could. Didn't get a whole lot, but he set it up. So, what have you seen from Adam Ernie early on? Because this guy for me just kind of came out of nowhere.
The bigger thing to me than the offensive part was the hits. He had 8 hits in that St. Louis game. The next closest forward had 2. So, I mean, he was very physical in that game against a team that's very physical. And I thought he did that exceptionally well. You've got the limited ice time. He brought all that extra energy. So he's on the bench more. He's got time to get his lungs back into him. And man, he used it. He was flying around, finishing every single check. I loved that against a more physical team. And it's something you need to respond to every now and then. And I thought he did that for the Stars for the most part. So that's what I like more than the offensive side, is his compete and his toughness and his physicality was fantastic. That's exactly what you want from a guy that slots into the lineup every now and then, because the offense is the hardest part. When you're out for an extended period of time, coming back and trying to contribute is exceptionally difficult because you got no chemistry, your timing's off, everything like that. But you can hustle and you can compete and you can hit. Like, that stuff doesn't go away with a little bit of rust. So that's what I especially like from Ernie in that St. Louis game.
Do you think that would be? You think he's maybe earned a chance in like the top 6?
Earned? No, he hasn't. I really don't think his offense has been fantastic. I get what you're saying. That was a good play on that one chance he had with Bastion. He doesn't have the skill to me. I mean, I think Sam Steele has much more skill than Adam Ernie does, but his compete is very high, and I like that. And to make your point for you, if you are going to stick with the duos thing and you want a guy just to go in and blow stuff up and bother the goalie, I mean, Adam Ernie couldn't do that. I mean, I don't know if he can make a silky smooth pass to Mikko, but he can for sure stand in front of the goalie for him.
It also depends on the type of style that they're going to play, which kind of leads me to this as well too. What I talked about 10, 15 minutes ago is the style that the Stars were playing in the first period against St. Louis was very different than we had seen in any of the other games, at least in my opinion. They were definitely going more for the dump and chase kind of game rather than the smooth connected passes through the neutral zone and get a shot off the rush and then maybe set something up after that.
And was that more of a choice though, or was that, hey, we're having a bad game, we can't make a pass?
I think that was a choice. That's maybe my gut feeling. And in that case, if you want to play that style and you have Mikko and Rope, Adam Ernie, I think, would be a good complement if you're playing that style. I'm not saying he's going to get points and assists and all that sort of stuff, but if you need someone to be the F1 to go and get the puck out of the corner and bang some bodies and cause some distress to the other team, Adam Ernie is exactly the guy that you would want to have. Because, I mean, like you said, he had, 8 hits?
Yep.
Compared to
5 in Vancouver as well.
Yeah. So, and that's also taken into account that, yes, his ice time was much, much lower than everybody else's. But still, like, that's the kind of style that he can play. And maybe instead of playing 6 or 7 minutes, maybe he plays 12 to 13 minutes if he can still keep up that same style and that same energy. I don't know if he can, but if he could, that might be a good complement to either of the top 2 lines in order to get those lines going. Like, do you understand what I'm saying?
No, yeah, no, it totally makes sense. I disagree, but it does make sense.
like it, I know that it seems crazy to think about something like that, but what it seemed to me is that hasn't really worked in having the duos with the third person. But it seems like the Stars offense has been better when you've just kind of top heavied the top two lines. So
Right.
that's
what I want to happen more.
And I think they're gonna have to make that happen. And what really sucks for Wyatt is that makes his impact on the game a lot less.
I think Wyatt needs to be in the top 6.
But then if you're gonna take, you're not gonna take Rope off a center spot, are you? So then you're gonna take Matt Duchene off the center with his age, and
no,
I don't know.
Just play wing.
Just play wing.
You're young, you can do it.
Well, I'm curious to see what Glen Gulutzan is going to continue doing, because it has been extremely interesting to watch the beginning of the season and how it's gone about.
It's been weird.
Yes, and very weird. I agree. I have not been super happy with the consistency. I've not been happy with a single game yet, but I'm hoping that is coming to fruition. The only other thing I wanted to talk about, Chris, and we can end it a little early if we need to, but the goaltending for Dallas has been excellent again to start the season. And the stats don't really back that up, especially if you look at the goals against average, especially Otters. But the goaltending has been very, very good to start the season, at least for me. Like, I don't blame the Vancouver game on Casey DeSmith at all. That wasn't his fault whatsoever. And then, like you said about Mikko Rantanen pulling a superstar play at the end of the St. Louis game and trying to win a game that you don't deserve to win, Otter actually did that in the game against Colorado.
Right.
Like the Stars had no business winning that game against Colorado, and yet they did, because Ottinger pulled a superstar elite game for them. So that's my feeling about the goaltending right now. And maybe that's the style that they're trying to play right now, and it makes it easier for the goaltending. I don't know, but what have you seen from the short span of Casey DeSmith in one game, and then what have you seen from Otter?
Yeah, I think Otter's been fantastic. I mean, the Jets game, maybe you want him to have one of those breakaway chances that happened when the Jets tried to come back. But outside of that, I thought he'd been fantastic. DeSmith, I thought he was reaching a little bit. I mean, he kind of was scrambling out of his crease more than you really want him to in the Vancouver game, but it doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, it's a backup goalie. You just want him to scrap and give your team a chance, and he did that. The Stars were within a goal late in the third period. I think that's all you need from him. And again, we don't need to win the Central Division. We need to get in the playoffs, and we need to be moving in the right direction going into the playoffs. And that's what he does. I mean, he gives Otter a rest, and I think he needs to be used more. I mean, we're 5 games in. Otter's played 4 of them already. And I know, like, the schedule right now is allowing for Otter to play a little bit more. I don't want him to. I mean, if Casey Smith wants to play the game on Tuesday night, I think that would be good. Give Otter just a long break, even early in the season. I mean, we both kind of mentioned during the offseason, we'd like to see him around the 50 game mark, like definitely below 60, even lower, because he's going to get in games in the Olympics. He might become the goalie for USA, and we're going to expect another deep playoff run. And it seems year after year, he plays his worst playoff hockey in the conference final. And I don't think that's a coincidence anymore. I mean, you gotta change something with what you're doing during the regular season to try and give him some more energy late in the playoffs.
I do want to see that continue to happen. And one game out of every 5, I don't know what is that? That's probably about 15 to 20 games for Casey DeSmith over the course of a season. If you do 4 for every 5, and so that's definitely not going to be the ratio moving forward. That, again, it's early season, so it's
right.
Otter's going to be able to play a little bit more.
And we haven't played any back-to-backs or anything yet, so
that was my next
it's likely
thing.
We'll see more of it, but yeah.
Okay, last thing on this is I'm tired of making excuses for this team. So I might come across as harsh sometimes and maybe not fair.
5 games in, he's already tired of it.
Yes. So again, like I know it's not fair, and I've said it a million times already. I get it. It's early season. There's a new coach. There's new things going on. And yes, we got some, and I get all of that. And yes, maybe there was a lot of players sick against St. Louis.
All right, something we didn't mention.
That's why I'm mentioning it here. Like,
Yeah.
I think there is a sickness that's playing more of a factor in the St. Louis game than
Harley
probably
was
they were
almost
leading
held out
on.
of that game if you didn't hear.
Hmm?
Harley was almost held out of that St. Louis game, is what I
Right.
was telling the people.
Right. But I'm like, dude, are you going to make excuses if you're on the outside of the playoffs looking in? And I'm not saying that I think that's going to happen, but you're going to be asking yourself all these what ifs. What if we had just, tried a little bit harder in this game? Or what if we had, I don't know. So
Yeah,
I don't want to make excuses about stuff like that. And I'm allowed to be because I'm a fan and not a, not like a true analyst or anything like that. So
I make excuses for them. They're 5 games in. There's a new system, new coaches. You've already got 3 of your starters hurt. It's going to get better. Like, it's going to improve. And it's already going well. I mean, the offense is fantastic. That's been really good to start this season. The Blues game was a hiccup, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're on the right track. And there's things that need to be improved, obviously. It's the start of the season. Teams get better as the year goes on. So, yeah, just be patient. I think stuff's going to improve on its own. Like, they're just going to learn the system more and more. They're going to stop thinking about it. That's going to improve their individual games. They can focus more on those puck battles, more on making the right decision with the puck in their own end, and get moving up the ice even more and somehow get past 5 goals even. We'll start scoring 6 and 7.
I'd like for us to get back to like 2 to 3 goals against per game rather than this monstrosity that we've seen early on in the season.
Hey, I don't care. Offensive shootouts. Hey, talk to the Cowboys. There was some fun games to watch.
No, don't you dare bring the Cowboys into this conversation. I do want to ask you about the Texas Stars because they've had some games here and out. I know they've played against the Grand Rapids Griffins.
Yeah.
Yep. So they had a couple of shootouts with not actual shootouts, but like games with them. What are you seeing from the Texas Stars down there in Cedar Park?
Rough start. They are 0-4 now. So that's not, well, technically they're 0-3-1. But yeah, it hasn't been great. They're definitely missing their 2 best centers. And Matej Blumel, who moved on to the Bruins and still got sent down to the AHL, unfortunately. And Justin Rizkovian, who's with the Dallas Stars. So they are having trouble scoring goals, and their power play has been really bad. I think they're over their last 12. So that's been extremely rough. And that's what Old Stars coach, please help me. I talk to him every weekend.
I'm wondering how long it's going to take you to remember.
Graham. My goodness. You suck, Ryan. Why couldn't you help me with that? He's the power play guy. So that makes sense. He's not on the team anymore. They don't have that same good power play mind, and it's costing Texas. So it's been a rough start for them, but there's a lot of fun prospects to watch this season, even more than last year. Last year, we had the shiny toy of having Liam Bichel and seeing how quick he could get up to the NHL, and the answer was very fast. This year, they've got Bertucci and Hemming are kind of the main guys you got eyes on. They've had fine starts, haven't noticed really too much from them so far. Then you've also even got McDonnell and Trey Taylor as kind of outside guys to maybe get up there. And with Lundqvist coming out, that leaves a spot. If Taylor has a really good few games here, he's got that kind of, he's not offensive, but he's got the modern defenseman kind of skating and passing. And yeah, he's a good puck mover. So that might open up a spot for him. Who knows? That's kind of a long shot, but that's some of the fun stuff we're looking at for the Texas Stars.
Well, and the thing that you're not mentioning either is that the Texas Stars have been decimated by injuries. I mean, is Cameron Hughes still playing, or is he still out?
No, Hughes is in.
Hughes is in. I know McDonald is still out. I know Wheatcroft is still out, and those are guys that they relied upon for points last year.
Not so
Huru got hurt, I think, not in this past game, but the game before, right? So he was out for the third period and a little bit of the second or something like that.
Yeah, he was fine. He got in a fight and got pummeled. That was rough.
So, on a team where you're already missing your number one center and Justin Ritzkovian because he's in Texas or up in Dallas, excuse me. When you don't have him or Huru, who were almost a point per game player for AHL Stars last year, that's a huge hit.
Right.
So,
and really what you were looking for to replace him and the blue mail points you're losing was a little bit more of the depth scoring from people like Schlane, who we saw in the preseason.
I
And
like
more from
watching him.
hitting and from deeper in the lineup, and that really hasn't been happening. And on top of that, the veteran guys haven't really been scoring. So Hughes is in. I mean, he's back. He had an abbreviated camp, of course, because he was recovering from that injury. But him and Lind and McKenzie can't find the back of the net right now. So, I mean, yeah, it's a problem. Got to find some goals.
You need to tell Coach Peterson to slap on some skates and get back out there like he did. What was it? 15 years ago?
Something like that.
Something like that. And then can you tell me about the goaltending down there too?
Yeah, it's been Poirier and Cross. It's been pretty decent. It's kind of like for the Dallas goalies, how you mentioned it doesn't really show up on the stat sheet too much. So Cross played in his first game. It was the second game of the season, and he had some fantastic, just really timely saves, especially. So on odd man rushes where he needed the stop to keep the Stars in the game, and he got it multiple times. But there just wasn't a big shot volume, which if you are watching the game, it's more impressive kind of to make those big saves without being super into the game. But from the stat sheet, you go back and you say it's 3 goals on 23 shots. It doesn't look great on the stats. But I thought they've been decent. The games have been low scoring for both sides, so they've kept them in it. But it's really the story of the beginning of the season has been the offense, and it's been the power play and its inability to produce.
That seems to be the exact opposite of the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. The Stars offense seems to be fine, and their defense has been struggling just because of individual mistakes. So, okay, I'm going to throw this at you because James and I got to do it, and we're going to do a mini Who Cares segment for you, Chris, because you didn't get to do the last one.
Let's go. I love being the center of attention.
Yep, so here we go. We are going to get Chris's top 3 cereal box mascots. As y'all know, James and I argued about this in like at length, and it was a major confrontation between me and James. He completely disagreed with me and who I had as number 1. Did you even listen to that episode, Chris?
No, I haven't heard it yet.
Okay, so I'll save it until you give me your top 3, and then I'll tell you if you're correct or not. Okay, so what's your number 3?
Number 3, we're gonna go with the Honey Smacks frog. On the box of Honey Smacks, he is pretty hilarious looking. The internet is calling him Diggum Frog. I didn't know that was his name. I just called him the Honey Smacks frog, and it's pretty cool. That is a unique mascot. You're gonna put frogs on a cereal box, but it's pretty fire. So
I need a picture. I need to see it.
Pull it up. This is a podcast. There's no video here.
Okay.
The next one, we're going to go with a classic, Tony the Tiger. I mean, that's probably one of the few that people actually know his name, the Frosted Flakes Tiger. Like, how many other cereal box mascots do you actually know their name off the top of your head?
Not many, I'll be honest. And what's your number 1 then?
Number 1, we're gonna keep it classic, and we're going with the Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch. Okay.
Yes,
I can dig your number 1.
You have to respect the Captain.
My number 1 was Tony the Tiger, and
that's
James thought that was the dumbest thing ever. He's just like, no, that's just so stupid.
It's fair. It's just boring.
But like it's like one of those things that he has to be number 1.
Right.
Like
it's
he's the original, I think, cereal box mascot. I don't think any other cereals had a mascot before then. Like I know I could have chosen like the Trix Rabbit or Captain Crunch or something like that. But like Tony the Tiger is like the guy. Like everybody knows who he is. And it was really funny that there was even some comments from that episode where we did the Cereal Box Mascots. And it was just like, well, he's definitely the most athletic. He's one of the few that can actually throw a football. So, and James didn't want to hear any of it. Like he legit left his room and did not finish the episode. So he thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. But it doesn't matter. But I like your top 3. It's good. It's good. I just would have had Tony the Tiger still as number 1.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Do you think James is overreacting?
Yes, James is overreacting. Tony the Tiger is objectively, I mean, the name recognition alone puts him over the top.
Yeah, you hear that, James? You're wrong.
Yeah, James is wrong on that one. Sorry, James.
He's actually commenting in the Starcastic Remarks Discord channel right now. So while we're recording this episode, so but okay, we're gonna wrap it up here today, you guys. Thank you all so much for following along with us live. There's even more of you who are doing so afterwards. Once again, click like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. Leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, whatever platform that may be. We'd really appreciate that. It's the best way to help us grow. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. I think we're at like 936 or something like that, Chris.
Time to make a bunch of fake accounts.
Yeah, let's not do that and get demonetized. Thanks, Chris.
Oh, no, I didn't say that, YouTube.
Alongside Chris, my name's Ryan. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. We hope you all have a fantastic morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you guys are listening. Go Stars.